All right. Meeting, my name is Keith Romano. I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the Inland Wetlands Commission meeting for the town of Monroe. It is September 25th, 2019. Right on your agenda. And the time is 7:03 p.m. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to introduce the members of the commission and staff present tonight. Starting on my right is Jim Weinberg, who is joining us for the first time this evening. Jim, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, my name is Jim Weinberg. I moved to Monroe in 1986. In the last 25 years, I served on a number of boards and commissions. I served on Board of Ed for 4 terms, Board of Finance 3 terms, 2 as chairman. I took over the Board of Ethics for a couple of terms as chairman. Moved on to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a couple of terms. Today I chair a committee called the First Selectmen's Industry and Business Council Advisory Committee. And I will tell you up front, all my decisions are made on what I feel is best for the town that I love. That has been my home for the last 30 years, 35. I'm getting old. My birthday was a couple days ago, so 62 now. Anyway, everything I do in any commission I'm on, I weigh what really is in the best interest of Monroe, at least in my own opinion, and that's how I move forward. I kind of a stickler for Robert's rules, which, as you know, state statute says all of our commissions and committees are run by, and I'll try not to be a pain in the ass on it, but it may come up from time to time. So, other than that, I look forward to working with you all. Lois, of course, we've seen each other many times over the years, so thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Clark Gingras, Ross Mastroco, Jim Stewart, who is a surveyor and licensed engineer in Connecticut. Jeff Shamus, who's also a environmental engineer.
Certified soil scientist.
Certified soil
professional wetland scientist.
I gotta write this sheet down.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
run that, isn't it?
Put it on your cheat sheet.
Then we have Lois Spence, who's our Jeff Shamus is our vice chairman. Lois Spence is our secretary. Donna Suzinski is the office manager. Denise Halstead is the inland wetlands agent. And Sarah Stroud is our recording secretary. Before we start, I'll read our mission statement and how the meeting will proceed. The object and purpose of the Inland Wetlands Commission is to provide for the overall protection and preservation of the inland wetlands and watercourses with the town of Monroe. Meeting procedure. In the normal course of our meetings, we will hear public hearings and other applications. The protocol for public hearings is to have an applicant make a presentation to the commission, during which and after which the commission will be asking the applicant questions. The commission will then review town staff and other independent comments. The meeting will then be open for public comment. I'll ask that all comments be made to the chair or commission. After any and all comments pro, in opposition, or of general nature are made, the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond. It is not necessary that the applicant respond, but generally in their best interest to do so. There will be no further opportunity for new questions unless new material is entered in as evidence or testimony during their response. Please keep all comments pro and con specific to inland wetlands related matters. Other applications that do not involve a public hearing will follow a similar format with the exception that there will be no public comments allowed. The meeting follows our published agenda unless otherwise amended. Any changes to the agenda?
There are. Under item 5, application hearing determinations, we have a new application that was not on the published agenda. It's IWC 2019-12R, 4 Main Street, 5 Victoria Drive, 7180 and 7192 Main Street in Trumbull, and that's for a filling and remediation. And also under status updates for enforcement, it's item 11C. I have IWV 2019-07, 104 Century Road, Century Hill Road. And I think that's it. Do you have anything? Okay, just those two items.
Thank you. Okay, first is subdivision report recommendations to P and Z commissions. There are none. Regulated activities.
We have regular meetings, we don't have any regular reviews right now.
So we have public hearings, IWC-2019-09, 19 Enterprise Drive, Delmedico, development of warehouse and office facility.
17
17,
Enterprise.
you said 19.
17 Enterprise Drive, sorry.
So, come on up and state your name and your company. On the side there, either one, there should be a,
Good evening. For the record, my name is Russell Sear. I'm a professional engineer with Solely Engineering with an office at 501 Main Street in Monroe. The application before you tonight is a proposal to construct a 28,440 square foot warehouse building at 17 Enterprise Drive. Just to give you this is a 5,000 foot view of where the location is. It's north side of town. It's an industrial park accessed off of Pepper Street. And so this is Pepper Street. This is Cambridge. This is Enterprise Drive. So this is the existing warehouse building. It was built in phase 1 in 2000. It was approved in 2006 and built in 2007. And the plan at that time included a phase 2, which was a building of equal size in the rear, excuse me, in the rear of the parcel. This is the plan for the phase 1. This is the building. You can see it's been constructed. And this is the phase 2 building, and parking lot access is off Enterprise Lawrence driveway. The parking lot was constructed to here, and the phase 2 parking lot would be the parking lot would be extended for phase 2 over here and over here. Now, the phase 1 construction included a sediment basin in this area here, which was built and was never filled in. So as a result, it's considered to be, this is our survey. So let me back up a little bit. The parcel is 12.3 acres total. And of that 12.3 acres, 5.1 acres is wetlands. And this is the wetland line right here. And there's a stream that runs through the center of it, right? Discharges through a culvert on Enterprise Drive. So the parcel contains 5.1, there's 3.25 acres of upland review area. Okay. So this is so during construction of phase 1, this was that sedimentation basin that was constructed. It was constructed in non-wetland soil. It was never filled, and it contains water now. The bottom of it is below the groundwater table. It's considered to be wetlands by virtue of the fact that it's full of water. So this is our proposed layout. It's a 28,440 square foot building. There's 36 parking spaces in front. There's space in the front, and parking lot at the side over here, and 2 truck loading bays in the center. Access will still be off of Enterprise through this driveway, and continue through the parking lot. The parking lot be extended through this whole area. We're also proposing an outdoor storage area for the owner's the owner is an arborist, and he has need for outdoor storage for his business for tree stumps and so forth, temporary storage. Currently storing it in the center of the park in these gravel area over here, and we tend to relocate it off to the side. It would just service his business in the existing building. So the site features a piped storm drainage system, catch basin, inlets, pipes, takes the drainage to a detention basin in this area right here, and drainage along the back that picks up the roof drains and drains to the detention system. There's also the dumpster is proposed to the side over here. The stormwater so you can see we're proposing to build a stormwater detention, the surface detention basin over the area of this existing wetland. And unfortunately, our soil scientist, Jim McManus, can't make it tonight. If you need required testimony from him as the wetland, we'll have to continue the hearing. But his report indicates that this is a low-function, low-value wetland, and it's not a detrimental environment to replace this with a detention basin. So the detention basin is designed for 100-year storm. Provides for 1 foot of freeboard below the berm, 100-year storm. Outlet control structure provides for 0 net increase through all design storms 2 through 100. It's prefaced by a hydrodynamic separator which treats runoff from the parking areas. Providing extensive landscape along the perimeter of the wetland. Providing a wetland tolerant plantings in the basin, wind seed mix, and other wetland mixes. Site lighting is proposed, 3 proposed light poles that photometrics show that provide 0-foot candles along the perimeter wetland. Sedimentation erosion control silt fence will be provided along the perimeter wetland during construction with temporary drainage swales with hay-bale check dams. The detention basin will serve as a sedimentation during construction, and then will be cleaned out and sediment prior to that following construction will be stabilized. landing is for. That I will open up to questions.
Mr.
What's
Chairman, I'm
the
ready.
elevation of the sediment trap now? The old sediment trap, what's the current elevation of it?
What's the elevation of the water?
Yeah,
Well, currently it's pretty dry. Right.
or at the bottom of it?
Right up. The sediment pit. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what's it,
In the springtime,
so what's the bottom elevation now?
Right? Maybe a little lower.
The thing plan, they're doing the thing at 417.
the elevation of the bottom of the trap is above the elevation of the water surface, if that's where you're getting at.
I'm sorry, I'd say it. Elevation of
The sediment base, the proposed detention basin.
lower than what it is currently?
That cross-section, section D to B prime, just doesn't seem to make sense because it just has a sloping gradient through the existing pond with no kind of depressed topography, and it just kind of slopes in a straight line through an upland and then to the wetland. So it seems as if the upland piece between the wetlands and the pond are lower than the pond itself. So I'm not sure if you actually have the ground elevation or spot topo for that.
You're talking about the sections and the details?
The section BB and the,
Yeah. The bottom of the pond's at elevation 417. It's level.
Can you tell me what the test pit results were for test pit 201 and 202 that are on the bottom of the detention pond?
Yes,
Because
201,
I can't find
yeah.
it anywhere.
We went down 6 feet and went 55 inches of miscellaneous fill, and then 55 inches to 72 inches of gray silt bank run gravel.
Where was this again?
Where were they at? They're shown on the grading plan. There. This is,
Which sheet is that?
this is 202 right here, and this is,
Which sheet? 202?
well, it's on sheet 2.21.
No, 2.2. You're right.
What's that? Oh, my God. Okay, I apologize. I was looking where all the other test pit information was, and that was in several places.
Right.
This
That's
I
what
never
it said,
found.
yeah.
I apologize. So how long is this going to take to drain? And is it gonna stay wet?
It's not gonna stay wet. The lowest outlet is at the bottom of the basin, so it will drain out.
So it's wet in the spring now, and that's higher than where the basin will be. So your intercepted groundwater,
Right now, the bottom of the basin is higher than the high water level in the spring.
so the bottom of the basin, you're saying, will be, no, the invert of the pipe going out of that set of the proposed sediment basin is lower, are you saying, than, is it 417? What you're saying is the bottom of that
The
existing?
the lowest outlet in the basin is an 8-inch orifice. The low flow orifice is a 417 at the bottom.
417.
Papers off the microphone, please. Thank you.
I can't find the cross-section.
3.04 sections. So 3.04 section BB shows the cross-section through the basin and the outlet structure. And it shows that the low-flow orifice and the outlet structure is at the bottom of the basin at 417.
But if you look at existing grade, and just get back to the sheet where you have the cross-section showing. What the hell sheet is this? There it is. So what you're showing, I don't know, it doesn't seem to make sense because it doesn't show like a depressional area to 417 where then the grade would rise up again
Okay.
and then go across and then slope to the wetland. It's just
The-
like a continuous existing grade that's a straight line
Right.
down.
The contours are probably not accurate. There should be a slope at the up gradient side of the basin. So the water surface elevation is approximately, I would say, 416 during the high level. At the lowest contour that runs through the wetland pocket.
All right, sidetrack.
Okay.
Yeah, so Denise, did you happen to go look at the original permit on this? And whether or not that this basin was actually proposed during construction and was supposed to be temporary?
I know it was supposed to be a temporary sediment basin, but it
Okay.
just seemed to accumulate the water.
You do have new comments from staff tonight also on this. New comments. Yes.
Um,
That one was from Denise. It's 7 and 8. 7 and 8, okay. From staff.
Is it application review team comments?
This is the original Phase 1 plan, and it shows the temporary basin in that area.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I have a lot of questions for the environmental consultant that's not here tonight.
Okay.
But one thing I did want to, because I saw your response to Scott Schatz's line, that's dated September 18th.
Right.
And I went back through Jim McManus's report, and nowhere in there does he qualify that basin, the previous basin, now wetland, as a low-quality or poor-quality wetland. The only term he uses is disturbed, and that disturbed, if you want to call it disturbed wetland, was 11 years ago. So it's been 11 years. Basically, if somebody went out there, dug a hole, left it, it's filled up with water, and it's naturalized, and it's become, you know, it meets the regulatory definition of a wetland or a watercourse. He was out there in the spring, late spring. It's dry now. Question comes up of whether or not there's what type of habitat this actually is, and what is it that we should be reviewing to protect against. Is it sensitive habitat, because now there's amphibians breeding in there, acting as a potential vernal pool? It's juxtaposed to a much larger wetland system, which does increase its value. However, if it wasn't juxtaposed to something like that, it's probably a lower quality system. The other issue I had is Jim didn't assess the wetlands on the site. He looked at a piece of the wetlands on the site. So the validity of his assessment and the functions and values really doesn't lend credence to assessing impacts, because, and he even admits it in his report and says, if I looked at the rest of it, I would probably find, or I may find, additional functions and values that weren't in his table. So the other piece is there was no description or discussion on alternatives. And from what it looks like, you're saying that you are saying, you know, using the term low-quality wetland to somewhat justify not doing a subsurface or looking at a subsurface detention system. I don't know if Jim ever looked at alternatives as part of this public hearing process, but there weren't any alternatives for looking at feasible prudent alternatives.
With the application, there were 2 alternatives submitted.
I saw those, but there was nothing that was reviewed by an environmental consultant that lends weight to avoidance, minimization, and mitigation. So he didn't address any of those things. So anyway, there's a bunch of questions I have that are not really going to be answered tonight, so I guess I could just move on. Because he's not here to speak on behalf of
And that'll be,
his
that
report.
would be the time to ask for a
Mr.
more
Chairman?
extensive report if you wanted one, because it would give them a couple of
Yeah,
weeks.
I
to
mean,
review
those
it.
are the things I'm talking about that,
You take turns here, or we just word out our questions?
it's up to whoever wants to
Ready, I would
chime
like
in.
to, my turn here. Thank
Are
you.
you done? I'm sorry.
I'll chime in later. Okay.
I don't know if you want to address this or if Kevin wants to. I want to go back to the beginning. Go back to your schematic and show me, if you would, the wetlands and the upland review area lines as they reflect the wetlands, the known wetlands. And you can do it roughly with your pointer there.
This is our survey. This is the wetland location that was flagged by Jim McManus. This is the limits,
Okay.
and on the other side,
Or just take it inside toward the project.
the pocket's right here.
And that's the upland review, that's the pocket. How much does that, if that pocket didn't exist, where would the upland line be?
I'm sorry, say it again?
If that pocket was not taken into account, where is the upland review area line? Just
Well,
around
it's
that.
it'll be 100 feet from here,
From the-
right?
Okay, so is there 100 foot off of that pocket that you're taking into consideration for the project? Or are you?
Yeah, 100
encompassing-
feet, this is our upland review limit line. And it's 100 feet from the pocket,
On the pocket,
okay?
okay. So if that pocket wasn't there, it would back up
Well, it would
probably
be back here.
mid-pocket.
It would be back here.
Okay, all right, thank you. You referred to this at one point as a considered wetlands. What did you mean by that?
I'm sorry,
The
say it again?
pocket was considered wetlands,
Considered wetlands?
yeah.
Well,
Considered by whom, or,
it's a hole that was dug in non-wetland soil below the groundwater table.
right?
And it's wetland by virtue of the fact that it contains water. The soil surrounding it are not wetland soils, which defines soils in Connecticut.
I understand.
Defines wetland in Connecticut.
All right, you used the word considered wetland as if there may have been some discrepancy in how it was being considered by other people. In your application, you are considering it a wetland.
Right,
Okay.
right. It's considered wetland by our soil scientists that flag it. Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, phase one, when you did phase one, this piece it was encompassed into the application, but not, as I recall. In other words, it was mentioned at phase one, but was not included in the application process, except to the fact that it was being used for the purposes of being a holding area or something, a runoff facility. Is that right or not?
Phase one.
In phase one, so you're staying from my door, I can't hear over there. All right, during phase one, this basin was mentioned but not approved in the project itself. Is that correct? Or was it approved as a holding basin, a temporary holding
It was
basin?
approved.
Okay. So, I guess my question is, why is it considered a wetland area?
Well, it is considered a wetland area.
I'm sorry?
It is now considered a wetland area.
Because under, okay, help me out here. Under state statute or whatever regulation you want to apply, how is that considered a wetland under the definition of the state if it was built as a temporary basin for this purpose?
It contains water.
I understand that, but I'm just asking, I'm not the expert, you're the expert. Is there a state statute that says if you build a temporary holding basin at X number of months afterwards, it now becomes a wetland? Or is it still a temporary basin waiting for you to do phase two?
I think they could have filled it in at any time after construction of phase one. But at some point, and I don't know when, it was determined it became a wetland. Maybe Jeff can.
Well, I mean, I don't want to venture an opinion. I'm not asking necessarily the opinion from others. I want your opinion. I don't understand the application. It's either a wetlands or it's not a wetland.
That's a question that would have to be answered by our soil scientist.
You don't want to venture there.
I'm not
All
qualified.
right. So what we do know is during phase one, it was set up as a temporary holding basin for a purpose under phase one. Is that accurate? Okay. All right. I guess I am also bothered by your reference to low function, low value wetlands. A wetland is not low function, low value by definition. All right, you know, we either protect our wetlands or we don't protect our wetlands. If it's not a wetland, which under any particular definition, that's different. And then your application should demonstrate that.
That came
But-
out of the soil scientist report.
I just know, but okay, but I don't know if that's actually a term used. I'm not, is it? Do we rate our wetlands that way? I don't know if that is, we do.
Maybe we get an answer for you? Maybe we have an answer? Jeff?
If you'd like to, go for it.
So, a couple things. The wetland area, the wetlands on the property were delineated by Jim McManus, the certified soil scientist, right? So he's already determined that it's a wetland. There's two areas, they're both wetlands, that's a fact. There's no, whether it's considered one way or another, it's a wetland. He was out there, flagged it, and assessed it. The highway methodology is a document that's used in the industry that was developed by the Army Corps of Engineers to assess wetland functions and values. It was really for large transportation projects where you have multiple wetland systems that you may be impacting. And they actually came up with a chart of graphics, and they equal, you know, nutrient retention, wildlife habitat, finfish, so on and so forth. There's like 13 functions that are attributable to wetlands. And then there's a bunch of considerations that you have to look at to say, do I have this as a primary function of my wetland? Does the function exist? Is it a secondary function? And that system got away from rating as high, medium, and low, right? A lot of people throw those terms around as high, medium, or low because they don't really use the standardized, at least in the industry, the function value assessment, and saying, here's the principal functions, and then what are you losing by impacting this wetland, right? So what are the functions, what's primary, what's secondary, and then what are you losing? So that the regulators look at that and say, well, if I'm losing this, how are you going to mitigate for that loss or multiple losses? So in this case, you have, you know, whatever the functions are that have been assessed, those in this application proposes to be filled. So now you're losing those functions that over the 11 years have developed. It's as if, you can think of it as a wetland creation.
Down the wrong road. I appreciate the explanation. Industry, dealing with the Army Corps of Engineers, it is a common assessment. It's used for the impact of certain industry functions that we are doing on nearby. So I stand correct on that point. Yes, I understand, and I did forget about that. I don't know if I've ever heard it used in this context. And if so, I apologize.
What's that, high, medium, or low?
And this type of assessment, we do it as an assessment of impact of a particular operation that we're doing. Now, which is part of what we need to do to surrounding areas. If we're putting posts in the ground to build tanks at a terminal, for example, we have to do that type of assessment. I'm not so sure that I've heard existing wetlands rated in that fashion, okay? And I stand by that statement. I have never heard someone say a wetland has this type of value. Impact on wetlands, yes.
I think maybe a lot of things to be directed.
But either way, we're getting way off
proper
of,
professional, like you said, you're not the soil scientist. So, you got a lot of questions.
I do have a,
Jim, just one more comment. I want to just maybe reinforce something or reiterate something. I believe what you said was that 11 or 12 years ago, if this hole was filled back in after construction, that would have been cool, right? It wasn't a permanent, it wasn't meant to be a permanent structure, so if they filled it in, we wouldn't have this conversation, right? Okay, so we're clear that this is just it was an oversight. They're supposed to, I guess they're intended to be filled in after construction, I believe. And this one wasn't, and then it naturalized to wetland. So it's just to clarify. Anybody?
Well, I have a couple of questions. First of all, you know, I don't want you to take the chair's comment as being, you know, anything particular. There's no time frame of when that might have been filled in. That's something for someone else to decide.
Correct.
That, as I recall, when this application came through, that phase 2 was headed down the road. No one knew the calendar, and that's when I should have been taken care of at phase 2. And I'm wondering why you didn't take care of it now in this application. But that's never mind. I'm not trying to editorialize. I am also very confused about your lines. Your lines are way off, or else that can't physically be a wetland in the description you gave. So I'm kind of curious how that could happen.
The lines?
Yeah, your elevation lines are
The contours.
are totally off. You know, you can't have water sitting 2 feet above the surrounding soil. Right. So unless there's a spring in there, and if there's a spring in there, we should know about it. All right. Anyway, sorry, I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anybody else have any more comments? Okay, we'll close this portion of the.
One more.
I'm sorry, not close, I would table.
Just to point out one, probably already pointed out quickly, but, appropriate page. Okay, on your sheet 2.21, you're calling out the, one of the drainage pipes is removing and also protecting and maintaining. I'm assuming it's gotta maintain, it's gotta stay there.
Were you referring to?
The drain, I'm trying to think, right south of Contour 426, that catch basin that's, you're pulling the pipe out, that's leading up to it, leading up to the double catch basin.
Convert frame and
It's in the middle of that sheet, I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
because
talking
I
about?
saw the same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
You've got a double arrow that goes to the pipe that says be removed, then another arrow that says protected. It's a pipe going east-west, I'm assuming, or it's going up.
This one?
Nope,
No.
up,
The existing
Existing pipe.
drainage.
This one?
yes.
Yes,
Okay. This catch basin?
yeah, but you follow that arrow that goes up right south of that. And there's two arrows going to remove.
Yes. See
Oh,
right here?
okay. Yeah, so we're removing there's an existing pipe, there's an existing catch basin over here, it goes to this basin, we're taking that out because we're now adding a new basin here going to the detention basin.
But you also have a note to that pipe there that says to keep it. I know exactly. And
Oh, that's incorrect. Those pipes are to be removed.
And then the other question was, you're extending your septic to the existing septic?
Yes.
And it was already sized appropriately, obviously, when you did the first phase?
Yeah, we've been through this with the sanitarium. And that system that was built for phase one was way oversized.
Okay.
And so we can add to it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
On page 5 of your narrative, it says the detention basin has been designed using a conservative analysis as no infiltration rate has been incorporated into the sizing calculations. Can you elaborate on that a little
Can
bit?
you say that again, please?
The detention basin has been designed using a conservative analysis as no infiltration rate has been incorporated into the sizing calculations.
Yes,
Can you elaborate?
that means we did not include infiltration in the bottom as an outlet source. All the outlet goes through the pipe. It's as if it had a liner on it. We're not attributing for any infiltration into the ground or losses in the basin.
It's a conservative approach, correct, to design the basin?
Excuse me?
Conservative, it's a conservative
It's
approach.
conservative, yes. In reality, you're gonna get some infiltration into the ground, but we didn't account for that.
I also have some questions for James Manis when he's here. Can you tell me the date of the original inland wetland approval? Somebody? Anybody? The last, for the phase one, I guess it is? We'll get that.
Yeah.
Anything else, Aaron? Both of you done?
I think so. Well, just give me a minute. Takes a while to thumb through these pages. Oh, is there a way, I think I'm reading this correctly, that there is a pathway to get down to the center of this basin to clean it out? How do you intend to clean out the basin?
The basin, it can be accessed from this area here, along the berm, and come into the basin here. Parking lot.
Wait a minute, point that out again?
From the parking lot, you
Mhm.
can access it along the berm and access for, it's a 3-on-1 slope, you can get down that with a machine.
Oh, so that starts after the retaining wall
Yeah.
ends? Okay. I did have one more question. In the past, we've had some buildings that had to have a certain amount of room around them so that the fire company could get into the building or around the building if they needed to. Was the fire marshal consulted, and is there any kind of report that would clarify that this is not necessary on this building?
No.
That's not really.
Fire marshal is not big, so.
Jurisdiction, no.
Well, actually it is, because if we approve something, and then the fire marshal comes back and says, no, you need a pathway around,
Are they back to
then
planning
somebody's
board?
gotta change
Are they back to
It's a
planning and
their
zoning?
process.
Would they have,
It is up to planning and zoning, but to your point, you're right, then it would have to be changed, so.
It's
Would have to
easier
be-
to head
they
it
would
off
have
by just asking for a report in the first place, and then it's a non-issue. Or just a statement
no, I
by the
understand, I
fire
understand, and I agree with that, but why wouldn't this not have, how would this have gone past planning and zoning, or is it not going? It's
It
going-
hasn't
gone there
It
yet.
hasn't gone there yet.
Yeah, so it comes to
So
you guys
I
first.
assume that someone did some research though, and it's
Well, you
not
can't
required.
assume, you can't
Well,
assume.
I'm
We've
asking,
heard
almost,
that
I
very
said
many
that
times.
also
That's the
by,
question.
is that question been asked to the fire marshals?
We
yet?
have not received any comments regarding that.
You didn't
So-
receive any comments, but did you ask for any?
We have an application to planning and zoning pending.
And that goes.
We have not received any comments.
Does that go to the
It
fire
does
marshal
go
as
to
part of
the
the
fire marshal,
application?
yes.
Review team, okay, good.
So if we were to approve it, but then it's required, they come back, it's another application, it's a change, a
Well,
major change.
so many times what happens is the ones that have to yield is us. And it's much easier to prevent that before the whole issue starts than it is to come back and try to fix the problem. So
Right.
I've been here a long time, I've
No,
seen
no, I
a lot.
understand.
And I'm trying to.
And I know that that's sometimes a consideration for sure. I just don't see how they would get, how all of a sudden that would, they would be able to, I mean, that's a conservation easement, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right behind the building, it's not even possible.
well, actually, I have a question for you then, Keith. How can they construct a building that close to the conservation easement without going into it?
Pretty carefully.
With those pipes.
Very carefully.
Technically, I guess if you were asking me a mechanical question about that, they would have to probably do all that pipe work before they built the building.
What about the building itself? I mean, that's 10 feet from the conservation easement.
Yeah, it could be done. It can be done.
Good.
But they would have to probably, if they were machine excavating that work, they would probably, in my opinion, if this was my job, I would want to do all that drainage in before the building was erected. So I have the room to operate.
I think they mentioned
That would be
in
my
one.
answer to you, Lois.
Okay. There was,
I have one.
oh, go ahead, Jeff, while I'm looking.
Russ, do you have like an approximate acreage of what the site disturbance would be for the development, just to do the construction?
Disturbance.
Is it like an acre, 2 acres of disturbance?
Not off the top of my head. I can get it
In the
for you.
report, it was like an acre of impervious, I think. But I'm just curious what, if you had to take off of.
Well, we're proposing to, all right, so, upland view area.
In other words, are you under 5 acres?
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
I want to clarify what I think.
The whole wetland on the site is 5 acres, so that just for, this whole wetland area is 5 acres.
Okay.
You mentioned in a few places that, that you're going to remove or move stone walls. I was going to request that we just move them somewhere else on the property, someplace that
I'm sorry, can you,
The stone wall, the farm walls.
people have been telling me I need hearing aids for years, and now this proves it. Can you please speak up a little bit?
It's, okay. The farm walls, there's several mentions of farm walls being removed,
Yes.
and
It's not really a farm wall. You're speaking of,
can you call it a farm wall? Yeah, remove or relocate existing farm wall. I saw that in two places. One is on the eastern side of the property. I'm on sheet 231, just east of the diversion swale.
okay, it says farm wall. It's not really a farm wall. It's a rubble. It's a rubble wall.
That's what a
It's
farm
large
wall
bou-
is.
Well, it's big boulders. It's not really, a farm wall is usually smaller stones placed or in an organized manner.
Mhm.
That's not what this is. It's more of a big boulders just holding back that area of the parking lot right there.
It's holding it back.
Yeah.
Okay, if they were to be relocated, where would they be relocated to?
Well, I probably would just add it to the stone along this slope here. This whole slope is stone.
Isn't that almost vertical?
What's that?
Isn't that almost vertical? That stone slope you were just
No,
referring
it's-
to?
It's probably 3-on-1, 2-on-1. But there's plenty of locations. There's only a few rock boulders that I think just added to this slope.
Okay.
Anyone else? Ready to move it to deliberation?
No.
No, move this to
Table,
table.
yeah.
I'm sorry, table to deliberation.
Continue to the next.
Continue deliberation. I'll find the right words.
Not deliberate, continue to the next meeting.
Oh, the next
Hearing
meeting.
to the next meeting.
Right, yes. Ready? Continue this to the next meeting?
Continue here, keep it
Okay,
open.
open, still open to the next meeting.
This is a public hearing, so you want to ask for it
Oh,
before
public-
you want to ask it.
Yes, are there any public comments about this hearing, either for or against, or of a general nature? No one?
Do you want to read in exhibits?
The applicant could also give a closing statement now, if you want to do that.
Well, do you have exhibits? I'm sorry.
If
Okay,
there's no public hearing.
do you have, is there any exhibits?
Yes, there are.
Okay. You ready?
Okay. Exhibit 1 was the wetland agent comments by Denise Halsted, document dated August 21st, 2019. Exhibit 2, the town engineer comments in a bond estimate form by Scott Schatzon dated September 5th, 2019. Exhibit 3 is a 18-sheet plan set titled Proposed Warehouse by Solely Engineering. The document was dated September 11th, revision date September 18th, 2019. Exhibit 4 is a response to comments by Russell Seal from Solely Engineering. The document was dated September 18th, 2019. Exhibit 5 were updated inland wetland agent comments by Denise Halsted. Document dated August 21st, 2019, revision date September 23rd, 2019. Exhibit 6 is an email from Russell Sear to Scott regarding WQ flow rate. Exhibit 7 is updated engineering comments by Scott Schatzon, document dated September 5th, 2019, revision date September 24th. Exhibit 8 is updated engineering comments by Scott Schatzon, document dated September 5th, revision date September 25th.
Thank you. Would the applicant make any closing comment?
I'd just like to continue hearing to the next meeting.
Yeah. that sounds like it's what we don't want.
Right.
With the wet soil
Is he asking for
stuff.
continuance or for closing?
No,
No.
they want to continue to the next meeting, right?
Yes.
I want to provide opportunity for our soil scientist to give testimony, to answer your
Very
question.
unusual to have public hearing.
Not for us.
Yeah, it's normal.
For us.
Okay, thank you for your time.
I do have our notification receipts.
I'm sorry? Oh, yes, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Moving along to enforcement, NOV discussions in IWB -2019-12, 120 Fan Hill Road, unpermitted activity and a conservation easement.
I have to look at this together. It's not a- oh, this is not. Should be down there.
Did I rush some?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh. Thank you.
Picking it up for you again.
All right. State your name and address for the record, please.
Craig Schultz, 120 Fan Hill Road.
Okay, so Craig is here. Last time we talked about sending him the NOV. I'm gonna get you to the overall map of his property. All this yellow here is the conservation easement, and his house is in this area. Wetland in the green. Whoops, what's going on? I just postponed the scan. Wetlands area, this is upland area. So Craig is wanting to sell his property, came in, found out that he has a conservation easement. It was never put in the deed, but this is what Vin Marino was talking about last time, where it made a reference to some map, so easement. So this is kind of a gravel driveway in here. There was a hoop structure that shows here, but it's gone. So he's basically in here to discuss what he needs to do in order to take care of the stuff within the conservation area. Because all that's left is really the gravel. As you can see, I tried to get some good photos of the gravel base. This is all existing fences that were there. And there was no cutting of any trees or anything along those lines. It really was just strictly the gravel. Just the gravel path.
Okay.
So I'll go back to the overview to see the other thing.
So there was no major tree cutting or excavation?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
And so it's the driveway to the house?
No.
No, it was up,
Go ahead. No, go ahead. 'Cause
Go ahead.
it was kind of a farm path that went down. It was all a big Black Angus steer farm, like 100 or something acres. And it had slowly gotten whittled away. We added that parcel that you see with the line, the delineation of the protected area, that got added to our, what we call our farm, you know, let's just say 15 years ago, whatever it was. There was kind of a natural roll that went down. Tractors would go on it or whatever, and you know, there's some photos and stuff. But I put some gravel in there so it wouldn't sink into the mud. And we had some animals and, you know, kind of stabilize it a little bit, just to give it, it really isn't even wet, but it's protected. And the wet side's off to the left and to the right. So what I'd done, after realizing that, there was a hoop, like a pole, you know, with the canvas on it. I
took that out and raked it out and put down a wetlands, mix, seed in the area, just to be a little proactive. And here we are tonight. So I'm here to find out what I need to do to.
This was kind of where he had the hoop structure.
And the fences and all that, that was all
That's all that, yeah, I went back to the 84 GIS that we have, and most of those fences were there.
I mean, in my personal opinion, if that's all the case, then he just topsoils and throw some grass.
But we
seeds
sent
or-
him an NOV, that's
and
why.
And then I would think that would be sufficient.
Or we could take off what you put down and not bring down the road, right?
I mean, that would be topsoil, if there's something like grass can grow in it, you can scrape it up and.
You said it was kind of natural soil underneath, right?
Yes.
You just put gravel on it to stabilize it to
Yes.
drive on.
That is a wetland, Doug?
So,
He's in the upland, actually.
That, the driveway's in the upland?
Yeah, let me go back to the screen right here, Lois.
Oh, all right,
That's
thank you. I
part of
wasn't
it.
sure on what side of the green. I was
Yeah,
looking.
and this
Okay.
part here, that's what, so he's,
Right, that's up
the
there.
hoop structure maybe not at one time, it's hard to tell, but, I went out there and there was no disturbance anywhere in wetlands. The gravel driveway comes, it just kind of ends in, right around this area here.
All right, Clark?
Shouldn't we just have them put some boulders down too, like stop that from ever being a road again? Because everybody drives by it, like, oh, it looks like a driveway, so people will just drive right in, and that'd be the big thing. We usually say that, block that off, and if he puts down soil and grass seed, it's gonna turn back into natural soil anyway, if he doesn't take the rocks out.
I would suggest a conservation seed mix so that it
Yeah,
naturalizes
right.
rather than just grass.
Right.
Is that a pile of rubble in those pictures, or just, is that?
Right.
This has been here for a very long time, because I could go back to some old photos.
Okay.
If you're talking about that, it's an old,
What's that?
it's remnants of an old foundation or something, according to the GIS I had.
I think it was from maybe when they had fields, they would stack the stones there or something.
There are rocks, or
There's some, there's
is
like,
it rock-based,
yeah,
or is
like
it
rocks,
concrete?
yeah, natural, like native.
This was
rocks.
part of the old Edith Wheeler, that whole area. So I wasn't surprised when, our map showed ruins, as it said.
Gotcha, okay.
I think also, when we took that hoop down, and I was driving, we have a farm tractor with knobby tires. That gravel is a little more pronounced than it was before I started messing around down there. I think the seed would take pretty quick. Naturalize.
Let me go
I mean,
back
just
to-
thinking, if you have that rock there on site and you put a, kind of a.
Put it at
like
the
we're saying,
beginning of where, because
Yeah.
that
Across the
looks like a
driveway
driveway
area.
right off of Fan Hill, so if you just block it off, that way
Just,
nobody else goes in there and disturbs it.
Throw the seed down.
This is, kind of go back.
Aren't there telephone poles like along the road with like barbed wire on it?
Yeah.
Can't you just continue that across
Oh, you
it?
could
I-
use, that's the
I
same
was
thing.
gonna
yeah,
suggest
you
it
could.
might look a little nicer if I could do that, and
Good
it would be a little more
Barbed wire?
authentic.
Well, the fences, yeah, the fences aren't falling down, those are some,
Yeah, those are,
You have sheep in
That'll
there?
keep you
Yeah.
those fences have been up for a long time.
And also, I would suggest some wetland markers on your side of the conservation easement, along, if we can work it out with the wetlands office, okay?
okay, let's
To have them every 50 feet.
So you're talking over in,
Yeah,
on
just
this
to
yellow line here.
demarcate the conservation. Well,
Kind of go up to the pond.
actually, we got wetlands right in the middle of that, don't we?
Yeah, that's why, the pond kind of goes into the
Yeah,
conservation.
the
That's a
pond
pond?
grows, the pond grows with the wet season.
There is a fence that's pretty close to that
It goes-
line right there that goes along with that
Yep.
would stop anybody from going into that section.
That wasn't part of the notice of violation, right? It's not there was anything coming off his home property. for
No,
wetland.
it was just this piece right here.
What is the nature of the easement, you know? Like, you can pasture on it, or,
No, I don't think you can do anything on it.
so why is it part of the sale? I don't-
So I was unaware of the easement. There's no excuse, but I bought a 5-acre parcel of land from Caranta brothers that were developing, and I had an opportunity, it abutted my parcel, so I sold the land to 2 acres in the front, and just added, it was like maybe 2.5 or 3 acres to this original, to the older house. And so I don't have an answer for you, other than, I don't think you can do anything. I don't even think you can cut the grass. So
What's
like,
the
we do keep it
oversight?
nice, it's like, if you go along, I don't know what's gonna happen.
So
in the
you
You're
own
allowed
it
to
by
berries.
virtue of the fact that you thought that you could buy it? I don't understand. I mean,
It's like
Yeah,
a
so I
passive.
purchased the 5 acres from the Caranta brothers to kind of
Right.
protect my investment. And then I had Larry Edwards from Easton, the surveyor, just cut the piece off, and then I added it to our house. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to do.
Right, you joined the lot,
Yes.
part of that lot.
Yeah, so I increased the size of our lot.
And is
Yeah.
that part of the conservation easement?
And
In
it's,
other words, what part of that is in the sale, the property you're trying to sell?
so it's all together. It's
It's
all
all-
one piece.
It's all part of the same
Yeah,
lot number?
Yes, yeah. And
His
so-
property is all through here, this line through here, comes up over,
I don't think you can
One
sub,
big lot.
And
you
the
can't.
can you identify that conservation easement?
Yes,
How-
everything in
I mean,
yellow.
not where it is, but characterize it. Isn't that, that's part of the old Wheeler estate or something, or?
with the research, it was part of the old Wheeler estate.
And
It
so,
was part of the
I mean,
subdivision that they
conservation
did.
easement from that point forward,
That easement's been around, I
and
mean,
never been put on the deed?
no. There's a map on the land records that makes reference to, one of your older deeds when you combined a lot. I did find something out later.
Yeah.
It made reference to a map that's on the Monroe land records, and the Monroe land record map says conservation easement is shown on map.
Right.
Now, the property above him up here, they have a conservation easement. This conservation easement actually it's written on their deed, where Craig's was not written as part of his deed, but they're many years apart.
It opened up a lot of crazy doors for you, I know. The gravel you put down yourself?
I did.
Okay. So there was nothing pre-existing there?
There was a pathway and a raised bed, but I can't tell you, like I went down there and there was gravel. So no, I brought a couple loads in, we spread them out in the rake and we kind of,
Right. And the rest is surrounded by natural
Yes.
weeds?
Yes.
One thought I have is to just let it naturally go back, rather than try to plant something in there. Let it, if the gravel's not too thick, in the next, few years, it'll go back to natural growth, in my opinion. So, sorry, I shouldn't be venturing opinion at this point, but,
I mean, I do have a farm tractor on site. I could like scarify it or something a little, backblade it, and I could throw seed where it might take bite, or I could leave it and not do anything and just add the fence across. Or any of the above.
In my opinion, if material was brought in and wasn't supposed to be there, probably easy, you just need to take it out. Not easy as far, I know it's a little bit of work, but I think that would be like, there's really no questions asked after that. There was a wrong done and you're righting it by undoing what was done, but that's just my opinion. Yeah.
So with your tractor and the scarifier, would you be able to, like, scrape up some of the gravel?
Yes, I could.
And bend seed over that?
Yes, I could. And then I'm thinking, if that were the approach that we were going to take, I probably would want to get a truck there and take it out, to your point. Because then at that point, what do I do with it? So I could either just rough it up and backblade it, and kind of turn it up a little and expose the dirt. It's not very thick. Seed it, and we could walk away. Or I could go a little deeper and then try to get, I'll probably end up taking out a little bit of topsoil with the stone. It's going to be hard to, it's kind of in the dirt at this point. But, this is
2 weeks ago, we had that project that came in front of us, and we just let them leave the gravel.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So that was a conservation easement also?
That was a conservation easement, I don't think.
No, that was in.
Was it?
So
That
I
was-
think if I remember correctly, conservation was never for any activity whatsoever.
Yeah, you're not
So-
supposed to have
Right, it's
Phil,
supposed to be,
Yeah,
yeah.
no
cutting
activity
of trees,
whatsoever.
yeah.
Where you can get permission to do something in a wetland area. You can, and never get permission to do anything in a conservation easement, period.
That's.
And we've had that before with the swimming pool and this and that. So that's where that's where my basis was, you know, yeah, being consistent. If we're gonna, you know, the other hearing was, you know, inappropriate in a wetlands area. This is conservation, two totally different things, but we both fall under our jurisdiction, I guess.
Because it's within wetlands too.
Within wetlands
Within
also.
the upland review area.
Yeah, it's upland review. But, yes,
Let me, just for the record, the conservation easements don't quite work that way. They're different characterizations that allow, we have conservation easements in town, for example, where a homeowner could build a playground for his children. You know, that type of thing. Or in this case, there may have been a right to pasture animals on it. I don't know if you have the sheep that were there at one point, but it had been pastured.
so there's different.
However, this committee doesn't deal with conservation easements. We deal only with the wetlands part of it. And I would suggest that it is appropriate to let it go naturally back to the condition it should be. You know, gravel is not asphalt, right? You know, in other words, gravel is commonly found in soil all over Connecticut. So, just,
Beg to differ a little bit in that this commission also deals with the upland review area, which is the 100 feet or more beyond the wetland area, and this falls into that category.
I think his point
So
was that
it
we
is-
wouldn't see
I'm
a
sorry, why is it?
conservation easement,
Mm.
we wouldn't be dealing with a
Right, we don't
conservation
deal with
easement unless
them.
it was
Right.
in the wetlands. It's
Okay.
not like if someone has a totally dry conservation easement,
Absolutely,
they'll
right.
never be here.
Right.
It just happens these are together, but as I said in the past, to be consistent, nothing was ever supposed to ever, and I'm sorry, if, I haven't heard of a different conservation easement
All
where,
the ones I've read that we've had associated with wetlands, all have been no structures, no buildings, no
so,
excavation, no
Right.
tree cutting,
Zero.
no, you know.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
parts.
so that's, so I guess maybe that's the difference that you're talking about, Jim, is that if it was in a dry area that doesn't have wetlands on it, that maybe the playground can go there, but I think in
You're
this particular.
selling this property, do I hear that?
Yes.
You see, man, that's my feeling, is if you let it go natural, you sell it, someone else is gonna go in there. There has to be something done to accelerate the process a little bit.
Well, this isn't a big project, I'm sure,
I
for
mean, whether
Craig
it's,
to
whether it's
to
scrape it up
take it
to
off.
a point where you can actually grow some grass consistently, and I like the idea of throwing a couple of boulders at the road, and then I think that's enough.
Mm.
You know, maybe you do a little bit better job towards the road, so it accelerates faster, and, I mean, if it takes a little longer further in, that's fine.
I like the idea of the conservation seed mix, because then you've got your shrubs and stuff mixed in. It's not just grass, and it doesn't invite, you know, mowing and that kind of thing. So that's just my opinion.
So at this point, you can present, I guess Craig could present, a remedy to us, is that how this goes, what he's going to do? And then, I mean, you've got a lot of input from us, you know, you've heard a lot of different ideas, and you can just pick what you're gonna do. I would just say that whatever's the most inclusive is gonna have the less questions, I would think.
Can we just have staff deal with it at this point?
Yeah, I think you can. You just,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay, so,
rather than wait.
So, yeah, so if staff, if you want me to deal with it, you know, maybe let's have a better consensus on, you know,
And what you want us
do
to
we
do.
want the
yeah,
conservation
will we
seed
do at
mix?
this
Do we
point
want?
of the hearing,
Pardon?
of the
Yeah,
meeting?
yeah.
Okay,
Violations
okay,
on the application, so we can.
gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, that's one approach you might consider, let someone make a motion as to how we think it should be done. We can vote on it, and then he can go away and do that and have the ZBA, the enforcement officer have a look at it down the road and we'll be done with it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that what Denise is saying is that once we agree on what's gonna happen, then everything will happen with her, right? So what you're, I think what you're
So,
saying.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, if you will, that we ask the applicant to go back, remove what loose gravel he can do without disturbing the topsoil to the extent that he can, that he place some sort of structure that will prevent easy access of quads or whatever onto the property, that he make some sort of mark, I understand that the fence line that he can work with along between the house and this property, and this part of his property, designating it as wetlands, and we let him go to do that and leave it at that.
We have a motion to,
Oh,
to-
I'm not sure if you wanted to add to your
Sorry, I
motion.
can't-
If you wanted to add to your motion, what would be, how would
No,
we do that?
Then you say you amend the motion. But you can't amend the motion.
I would just, because we
I'm sorry.
didn't discuss what kind of seed,
We have to
You
second
cannot
this
amend
before.
it until someone seconds it.
you have to second it first, okay. I'll second it.
There you go.
And then I would like to amend
Nice.
it. Because we didn't mention what kind of seed mix we wanted. So I'd like to hear what
conditions.
everybody else wants.
You gotta get specific.
Yeah, I'm
What
just trying
type
to
of
get
what?
The
Can-
seed mix.
Seed mix.
the conservation
Or
seed.
just let it go natural.
I think you let it go naturally. I
So
don't
you're saying
think that
let it
you
go
want
natural?
this to be designated something special in that area, you know.
Well, it's just, she's just thinking about the type of grass seed, type of.
I don't think you do grass, I think you let it go back to prairie grass or whatever's there.
Can I just, interject?
Absolutely.
Staff would like it to be clear as to what the commission would like. It helps us.
Sure. Well, we're not there yet.
Act
We're getting
in-
there.
We're still trying to figure it out.
Okay,
Lois, I don't think you need to amend it. The chairman will do it. We're in discussion, so we can discuss that point and then make an amendment if it.
Yeah, we can discuss this now, and, does someone, there was quite a few things there, so do we wanna maybe to
Well-
We were talking-
keep track there,
Well,
is someone
yeah.
jotting
Could
down?
you
I'd
start
like to know
with-
from staff if they think it's too dark to grow.
I did not feel it was,
It's not good.
I
It's not
mean,
good.
when I was out there with Craig, I mean, you just.
Is there
kinda-
ground cover, is there grass and ground cover
Uh,
outside of that?
Outside, yeah, and so, I mean, personally, you know, my opinion, I think trying to scarify it, throw some loom and some seed down would be a good way to go.
What kind of seed?
Is there?
I'll let you decide on the seed, but,
Can I add something to it?
yes.
Thank you. If I don't drive down there and we don't go over, which was, it was never really heavily trafficked, but if I didn't drive on it, the pathway would grow natural, whatever it is, weeds or, no, grass, but anyway, it would grow a natural type plant
What's
relatively
surrounding
quickly. So it is like rich soil down there, you know, it's not like clay.
It's nice and brown soil.
I do like,
You kind of see, I mean, it
yeah.
was definitely rich and organic, you know, that type of, definitely was gonna,
You're not gonna find anything better than that. Anything that's on the market now is subsoil cut with some sand, and they call it topsoil. I
I
wouldn't bring any
think
of
bringing
that.
in dirt is, in my opinion, is counterproductive when you have good soil underneath it. It's a matter of, you know, how much is that gonna continue to be an impact on the conservation area? Still, you know, and not be, you know, you've seen gravel driveways run over, they're never as lush as the lawn.
No.
So you're always gonna have this, I think if you leave all the gravel there, the natural, you're always gonna have that visual scar that you can see through the conservation area. I'm not saying I agree to taking every last bit of it off, but if 40 yards came in, 40 yards comes out, and then the rest of it's, you know, leveled out and grass. But that's my opinion. I've never seen a driveway grow in, a gravel driveway grow in and be as lush as the grass around it.
I'm fine with removing, if that's your recommendation, I can have a couple of trucks come in, it wouldn't be much traffic. I could just kind of pull it all back, pile it up, I could get a couple of loads, I think that's really all it is a couple of loads out. And then if your next recommendation is whatever seed you would like me to use, I'll do that, or nothing, or whatever you recommend.
My recommendation is,
I think we gotta deal with it.
if you scrape it up, you know, then I would say, to Jim Stewart's point, you know, throwing some seed down helps to stabilize
Yep.
and get it going faster. To me, you know, whatever seed mix you use, I think through succession, if it's left alone, the natural species are gonna end up coming in there anyway, so
And then,
A year from now, it's all gonna be briars and, you know.
eventually.
and then I can put maybe, just to keep it aesthetically pleasing, I can put like 2 or 3 larger boulders, just so a car can't get through. And then maybe both, you know, would that satisfy the
Well,
committee?
we have a motion with a suggestion, and we're making adjustments to it, so
I'll rephrase the motion.
that would be great.
So the motion is that we ask him to remove loose gravel without digging into the topsoil to the extent that he can. That we place some sort of obstruction, boulders being fine, along the roadway, to make it obvious that there's not an access, driveway. And that we put some sort of designation, I think there are official signs that we can use, if that's the way the commission wants to go, along the fence line between the house and this conservation area. Perhaps it can be a conservation area notation rather than a wetland, but, something to that effect. And then we let the enforcement officer have another look at it a year from now and make sure everything's fine.
Seed mix.
Seed mix.
What,
Go
natural
down
seed
seed.
mix, grass, seed mix,
Grass, so we're saying grass.
So
Grass
we
seed,
allow it
kind
to
of
go,
seed,
in
some
my
kind of
opinion, we
seed.
allow it to go natural. If you want to amend the motion, you can do so, but I haven't seen bags of wild grass seed that will,
I don't think the wild grass, even if you were to put down rye,
Yeah.
simple.
Stabilize the
simple,
soil.
Just something to quickly germinate, stabilize the soil. It's not a terrible amount of money.
Okay,
So it's
I
grass?
think we're there.
Grassy is fine.
are you amending the motion to that effect?
Yes, please.
Then make the motion so someone can second it. and we-
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that he remove gravel as he can without removing the topsoil, that he install wetland markers or markers along the conservation easement line at an interval determined by the staff, that he install 3 boulders along the roadway to demarc to close off the driveway, that he seed the area with a construction seed to stabilize the area.
So, actually, what you're supposed to do is just make that last statement. Because you amend my motion to include that last statement. So now we have to, sorry to be, I'm not trying to take your job.
No, it's okay, I'm new to this.
You need to vote on the, amended motion. And then we have a full motion that we can vote on or not.
Who second that motion? Who's
Second.
You're seconding it.
Sure.
Do we have, everybody in favor? No,
So-
wait, sorry.
Of the
No.
amended motion, of the amendment to the motion.
But it was Jim's original motion,
Wait,
correct?
who's, so explain to me the whole Robert's Rules thing. You're saying you make a motion, someone seconds it, we discuss it,
And then
then
anybody.
anyone can just say, I want to amend your
You
motion?
can amend the motion, get a second, and then we vote on the amendment. If the amendment passes, then my motion has been amended as per yours.
So I can amend anyone's motion anytime I want, as long as I get
As
a
long as you get a
second.
second and a vote to approve it, sure. That's what it's all about.
Okay, so, we have a motion by Jim Weinberg.
Nope.
No?
You have the
And
vote
it was
is
seconded by,
Nope.
wait, let's
No.
start over again.
It's my motion now. Once I get a second, it's mine.
He took it.
Okay.
I
all right.
stole it
We have
from
a
him.
motion from Jim Stewart. We have a second.
He seconded it.
Oh, you seconded.
I
Okay,
seconded
so we have a
it.
second. Now, do we vote on it now? Is everybody in favor? Right, no?
Wait.
Sorry, am I doing something wrong?
Just keep going, it's your time. We'll get to the regular motion.
Go ahead, Jim, go ahead.
Is that okay?
I am just here to record.
Let's take a vote.
Just take the vote.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? All right, motion passes.
On another issue, it's dangerous in this committee because if we amend something in a way, and it gets a second in a way that doesn't get approved, and it gets a negative motion, we can't go back.
Yes, you can.
I don't know,
Time out.
a negative,
Has nothing to do with the initial motion.
no, I'm just saying, if I made a motion that was, and it was not a rehab, but an actual approval of a building,
Yeah.
right? And I made a motion and it got second and it got voted down. Well, it's over, they gotta come back through.
Time out.
It's not-
Anybody who votes for the motion in the fashion that win can revisit.
Yeah,
the
just, all right.
Craig, you're
We'll
good.
have a discussion. Like, I know he
Thank you for
doesn't-
coming in and for
Thank
being.
Robert's rules.
Thank you for
Believe me, you
for
can
dealing
revisit
with
the
this
question anytime you want.
at
So,
the
if
right
you voted
way,
for it.
which is to present it and come up with a very reasonable solution. Do we have it recorded right? That's what I'm concerned about right now. I
I
wanna
have a
just-
question about that, because originally
I will-
Mr. Weinberg made
I
the
will I'll
motion.
restate
Excuse me,
the- it's
could I
proper for me
please
to
finish
restate the motion.
my statement?
All right. Mr. Chairman, The motion as it stands.
Donna wants to finish what she's
That was-
trying to say.
I'm gonna help her.
Talk.
She
Please.
wants the motion in its complete form, right?
Hold on, let's
No, what
let
I'm
her
saying
finish.
is that there are two motions that you've made. Excuse me. You made a motion, it was seconded by Lois. Then Jim made a motion and it was seconded by you. You voted on the second one. How am I recording it?
But you're not recording it yet, because we have to go back to the original motion, which I own the motion, I will restate the motion for everybody, and then we
Okay,
have a
so,
vote.
so my motion is
Please.
strictly to amend yours.
Yes.
It wasn't to approve yours.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
So
So that vote was a vote to approve the amendment,
Yes.
not the full.
correct.
We're good?
My
All right,
God.
Let him go.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you.
I do have one question.
Yeah.
So I'm all for, thank you, first of all, everyone, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I object. You have to vote on the motion on the floor.
Okay.
Please.
Can
I
we
will restate the motion
can we
since I own the
restate-
motion.
Just real quick, can we restate the actual remedy, the terms of the remedy, and then make a vote on it? Is that correct?
Yes, the motion on the floor is, Mr. Chairman, that we ask the applicant to go back, remove loose gravel to the extent that he possibly can, without disturbing the soil to the degree he can, that he places along the roadway a boulder type construction, which will be approved by staff, and that he puts along the fence line signs at appropriate distances to be worked out with staff, and then he places on the pathway where the gravel is removed, some form of acceptable seed mix to start growing. That's the entire motion as it stands now.
So then we get a second for that?
No, we don't,
No, oh,
it's
we
already
don't.
done,
Okay.
it's already
So-
done, just
all right,
now you
so
can
we're-
vote.
We vote on that motion? It's recorded correctly? Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? The motion passes. Thank you.
All right. All set.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you
have a
very
question?
much, everyone. I have one more question.
Yes.
If I do this, I'll probably end up doing it this weekend, within a week. If I do get this, put the seed down, everything is to, your liking. Can I come back, is it in 2 weeks, and do I come back in front of you?
No,
or-
everything is through Denise.
It's just sue me now.
You don't have to.
You don't have to deal with me.
Thank you,
If
everyone.
you need a place to put the gravel, let me know. Good.
All right.
Moving along.
Now to remediation submissions, we have, application hearing determinations. IWC 2019-11, 422 Fan Hill Road, current single-family home with associated site improvements. Previously approved, is that I-05-14 application about to expire.
Correct.
Oh, this one, yes.
So this is, an extension?
I believe this is they're
It's
reapplying.
I have not looked at it, but it's a reapplication because they're until 2020. So I think they're coming up.
And they've already asked for an extension?
Because he knows the project will not be done.
By the time,
That's thinking ahead. What do we do with
So
this?
this is,
Applications to
we did,
extend,
let's application
Application.
determination
Um,
to determine whether it's regular
Okay, we
meeting,
gotta, so we
the
gotta
final
vote on
expiration
it.
date is
regular
March
meeting or public
22nd.
hearing.
You want this to be, so we wanna know if this is gonna be a regular meeting or public hearing.
Tell me about it.
Right.
regular meeting. All you're doing is, it's an application to extend, correct?
Yeah, but
So,
the
you
term,
can't
it says
No, it's a
under
brand new
determination.
application.
All right, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I make a motion to approve the 422 Fan Hill Road, Huron, single-family home with associated site improvements extension, application extension.
It's not an extension.
What? I asked 3 times and it was an extension. So what is it?
it's under the application hearing determination, so I'm assuming we're determining whether it's a,
Yes, original application was a public hearing, however, it is up to you whether you want a public hearing or regular review on
but
this.
May I ask a question
Sure.
of Donna and Denise? And is all the information on here identical to what had been approved initially?
I believe so. I can't say with a full doubt because I have not had a chance to review it. It just came in.
So this is an application that's about to, it's about a property permit that's about to expire. So rather than have it expire, I don't think he can have any more extensions,
He cannot.
No.
which is why he's gonna reapply.
Right.
got it.
So this, if I'm understanding it correctly, he's getting exactly, he's asking for exactly what he had asked for before, we're just reinstating it
On the
essentially.
application, it's basically was kind of reiterating it is what was.
I believe
That's what I
it
thought I
is the
read,
same
yeah.
information, but
Okay.
further review will determine that.
Okay.
Um,
I move that we bring this to a regular hearing, as it is essentially the same application as we have already approved.
in a regular meeting?
Regular.
Regular meeting, I'm
Regular
sorry.
meeting, okay, we have a motion from Lois to move this to a regular meeting, do you have a second?
Second.
Second from Jim Stewart, all in favor, is aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
No discussion?
What? No, you did? I'm sorry.
Commonly, after you get a second, you have a discussion, so we know what we're voting for.
Okay, moving on to IWC 2019-12. This is also an application hearing determination. This is my client, so I will not be voting on this. It's an application, just an application determination. I mean, I can do that. All right, I'll do that. I'm accusing myself as a suggestion. It's, but.
So this is the same as the previous one, where we're making a motion? No. To determine whether this is going to a regular meeting or a public hearing.
And I'd like to put some information out there about the application.
Please do.
Okay. This is all in the, all common knowledge, but it's just a timeline of everything. We had a remediation decision, 2/28/19, which was for the wetlands that was in that northeast corner. The work was supposed to be completed July 1st, 2019. If it wasn't going to be fully completed, we were supposed to have a property development plan that was to be submitted and approved prior to July 1st, 2019. Now, all this was stated in the notice and certificate of remediation decision. The plan that they were to submit was to include development of the property, which also includes remediation of the remaining upland review area that won't be within the footprint of said development. Spath Bjorken submitted a letter on July 23rd asking for the time extension, which was already 23 days after. His extension was to July 31st. Extension was granted days. You had asked me to go out and visit the site to check on its completion. It was not done, so then the next meeting, they notice of violation, background report was done, and we were going to issue notice of violation. In the meantime, Planning and Zoning on July 24th also issued a cease and desist order because they were selling excavated material out of the site. Violation report that was generated by me was on August 1st and was based on the non-compliance of remediation that was not completed by the extension and the failure to fulfill the approved requirements of submitting the future development plan. The separate submission of just remediation plan for restoring, regrading, and planting of a natural buffer of the remaining upland review area was not submitted, and we still have no property development plan as of yet. We then issued a citation on September 4th, based on all this. The citation hearing will be November 5th. we did not hear of any appeal against it, and they're on the agenda for the 5th. The submission that you're looking at is listed as excavation and filling. And they're trying to link the citation that they have for the remediation that was not done as part of this application. Those are just facts I wanted everyone to know.
This is a mess.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what is the decision to be made on this?
If it's going to public hearing
Or
a regular meeting.
What would go to public hearing? Is an application?
The application that's in front of you
That,
for the filling and excavation.
that then, it did go to a public hearing prior,
No,
but did not?
no, this is brand new.
They're trying to avoid the first public hearing application that they went past the time date.
Right.
They're throwing in a new application, trying to smoke it and fix something, but they're not. They're just playing a game. It's a game. They didn't do anything. So they went through their time period. That's why the violation is getting resubmitted. Now they're trying to throw in a new application and saying that, oh yeah, we're gonna fix something.
No, they did acquire another piece parcel as part of this too, so the land has
So
expanded.
they never fixed the original remediation. They
Right.
I get that.
So,
No, they did
I
not
would make
fix
this
it.
a new public hearing, because this is not.
Well, the problem is if we link the remediation with the development plan, then it's much harder to actually get the remediation done. And we've been bitten many times by that particular process. I wish we could come up with another way of doing it, because it's just not working.
Well, what if the work was, the remediation work was conditioned to be done prior to?
We've tried that, they usually ignore us.
A set deadline date would be needed, and
Yeah.
And then they're in violation if they don't, but they're already in violation, so.
True.
Where do we go from there? It's, this is an extremely difficult situation.
So they're just trying to figure out how to sell more soil out of that property.
Well, this application
Yeah.
actually is bringing in fill. They want to raise the site up 20 feet.
Ooh,
Say what?
I move that we take this to public hearing on the basis of the potential impacts to the wetlands as well as public interest.
I'll second.
I guess I'm still
Oh,
not clear
discussion.
how we separate.
Yeah,
I was reading, just reading it here, sorry.
yeah, he has a question though, it's true, it's like,
I'm not clear how we separate the issues. I mean, are we talking about a violation here that we're trying to deal with, or are we talking about a bigger application process?
The violation has already been issued. I mean, the notice of violation has already been
And
issued,
that's
and in
not-
fact, the citation was issued.
Right. And he's not
And
taking care of that.
has not been resolved. So what they're trying to do is to roll it into the development plan, so that it all kind of gets addressed at the same time.
Is that in the best interest to let them do it that way?
Not in our best interest.
The,
Well, I'm
the,
saying, why would we want to do that?
the, right,
Yeah, but
and
he's got an application in front of us, which means we have to decide how it gets addressed.
You're absolutely, I understand that, but I thought we're dealing with the remediation issue now, not the new application. not
right, and the
the-
citation hearing is scheduled for November 5th, which would be during the review period that we have for an application. So we don't have to act on the application until after the citation hearing. It's convoluted.
It may or may not be relevant, but remind you that planning and zoning has regulations concerning applications when there's an outstanding violation. Maybe we inadvertently postpone this violation by doing it, by wrapping it into a public hearing like that. I'm not real clear.
I'm in agreement, it's an extremely, it's like an octopus with lots of tentacles.
But we have to do something with the app.
But, I mean, we can do that, I mean,
Right.
if the commission wants to do that, why not, do that? I'm just
Yeah.
suggesting that, I don't think we can then parcel out this issue by itself. Maybe the agent can help us out here.
Well, what has happened in the past was that some of the remediation that was requested or was proposed would have been disturbed by the future construction. So that was one of the reasons we actually went this road. Unfortunately, what happened was construction never happened, so the remediation never happened. And it's an evolving process, and we haven't figured out how the best way to handle it is. If
Maybe-
you can come
maybe
up with
best-
something, we're open for
Yeah,
ideas.
if they're actually gonna develop the property, I think it's a good
Maybe it's
way
best to
of
keep
doing
it
it.
all in the package.
Well, the problem is that it changes the timelines, and
Well,
if part of the
again,
remediation is,
but if they're developing a property, that's
If
good.
if we accept, the application's before us, so we have to,
Right. We
Make
have
a
motion,
decision
we
on
can
it.
vote on the motion,
Right.
and just put it all in general,
so my recommendation is that if the move move it to a public hearing, that the public hearing doesn't open until the last meeting in October, which is basically a month. It gives them 4 weeks, which,
65 days, I think we have to. open
right,
it.
so that would be
we have
20,
65 days.
that would be 2 weeks before the notice of violation hearing, or citation hearing, whatever. It just seems like if we accept this and we open it and we start discussing it, and then at the same time there's a citation hearing, and whatever comes out of that is they have to do X, Y, and Z, then they modify the application as they need to, and that's already before us, to include those things, and there could be specific timeframes associated with that.
Basically, I see what you're saying, but actually she won't do that. The whole purpose of it is to get them to remediate, so
Okay,
essentially it would come back to the commission. She wouldn't necessarily say,
Okay.
the citation officer usually just levies fines or not.
so my
But if she
question,
sees that they're working
yeah,
on a submission, then what will happen is the
right,
hearing
yeah.
will probably extend for her while the commission.
So there's a delay on one end or the other, and is it even legal for us to, like, not accept an application? I think we have to,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So it's,
I think that may be something we want to put in our regulations in the future that says if someone necessarily have a new application.
yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
I mean, but you might get stuff that's done and then torn out. That is a problem. If someone's doing
But-
work because they're just a little ahead of themselves on an application, and then you're gonna say, oh, no, you gotta go back and restore all this, and then they come back and tear it back out. It makes absolutely no sense.
well, in this
It
particular
does.
case, though, it is the timeframes, right? They just completely blew off the timing to get it done.
Yeah. No,
And if they knew that they were going to be developing, then it should have been in sync with the time frame that was already set on them. I mean, the onus isn't on us, because they have to go rip the stuff back out again. If that's the
So
scenario.
what's our choices?
So the choices is to schedule a public hearing, which, depending on how the vote goes,
Right,
and then we would have to schedule a date, to put a date to that.
right.
And that's where
well, how long do we have to schedule a public hearing?
we have 65
60
days.
days?
60
So-
65 days.
I mean, the other option is that we accept it tonight, it goes to a regular meeting, and we still have 65 days to determine whether it's in the public interest to go to a public hearing, or there's by virtue of
Oh,
what we
you're
find.
saying-
We haven't
you're
even had a
saying
chance to
don't
review this.
schedule, We give,
It could be a
Correct.
significant
What
impact
happened-
activity that goes to the public hearing.
Right, you can just accept it tonight and not decide on it,
And
Right.
how
and
long do we
review
have
it
to
at the
schedule-
next meeting if
how
you
long do we
want.
have to schedule a,
Within the first 65 days, so.
you have to have a
You-
public hearing?
No, you have to
Open it.
open a public hearing or render a decision by November 29th.
Which
That's
is
the end of the
60
65
Which is
days.
65 days.
Correct.
So I
you
could
ha-
still have my motion to make it a public hearing, and we could just schedule it in November. Right? I think it's getting there anyway.
We could do that.
Well, but what I'm saying is, Barbara, you don't have to make a motion. You can just say, we want to study this application. We're accepting it in. There's nothing that says that you have to make a decision tonight.
Okay, I withdraw my motion.
There you
Okay,
go.
that's
Good
fine. Very good.
It's
So
easier
you
than
can,
voting.
you can just say, okay, we're accepting it
Whatever-
tonight,
whatever-
and we'll review it some more and decide
Someone have
what
to
we
withdraw
want to
their
do.
Do we have to
second?
vote on that?
No, you do
Okay.
not.
You
All right.
you own the motion until he calls the question, so you.
So however this
So we
goes,
could-
anything that they do is gonna be like next spring. Is there like exposed soil that we can force them to have
According,
to stabilize?
I looked a little bit at this application, if it got approved, they plan on doing it within a year. They said November this year to November of next year, to put all that fill.
Yeah, okay.
That just happens to be what was on the drawing. I was like, okay.
So you can just accept it, which is what you're
So I think-
required to do.
So here's a suggestion.
So right now, I don't think that we need a vote to accept.
We don't have to vote, we could just accept
Yeah.
the application.
Right.
I'm just looking for everybody's consensus.
Yes.
Accept the application tonight
We'll
and
talk
then
about it next month.
study
We'll
it.
table it.
Well, it just gets accepted and it's on the agenda for next,
The chair accepted the application.
it's on the next.
Right, so what it'll do is it'll stay under determination for the next meeting, and you have time to review
That's
your
good.
information, and then you can come back and discuss it as long as you need.
Yep.
So it's just accepted tonight.
Okay.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay, somebody want to grab Keith
You want me
now
to
that
take
we're
it?
moving on?
Keith?
You might be a
Oh, I'll-
student.
I'll- Oh, wait, till Keith gets back.
It's, and
Well, we went from Jay to York.
All right, we're on other now. Right, which, this goes to deliberation section,
Okay.
because there's nothing on their other, so.
So, I guess I should have mentioned that the record shows that I left, and then the record is
I
gonna show that I'm
marked the
back.
time. I marked
Okay,
the time.
all right, I know that was part of the challenge. Okay, so we're on other, which is nothing, now to the deliberation session. Deliberations on completed hearings,
Go
three
ahead.
items on the agenda. Nothing. Then move on to bond release reduction reports, there's none. Time extensions, there's none. IWC agent activities report, agent approval.
We have one agent approval in front of us, it's for a storage shed. They will be coming actually in front of the commission next commission meeting because they are the property above, the fellow that was here, who has a conservation easement. They bought a house, and when we were trying to figure out with the shed, they found out that they had a conservation easement, so
Oh,
they'll be in front of us for something different. The shed is strictly an IAA though.
is it a she shed?
Yeah.
All right, permitted uses as of right, IP-2018-1, Department of Public Works road repair, replacement or general maintenance. IW regulation section 4.2. Is that what we said?
No, that's, yeah, it's okay, that
That's
one
always
we
there.
just, it's a placeholder, because that doesn't expire until 2023.
Gotcha. Okay, enforcement, deliberations on completed remediation submissions.
No.
Items is agenda, none, there's none, right? Administrative review enforcement issues, IWD-2019-14, 260, 268 Garden Road, filling within a regulated area.
Okay. A cease and desist has already, from the zoning, has been issued to, on this yesterday, just so you know. So they were trying to wait for us, but they went ahead and went without us. We got a call, complaint came into zoning that there were vehicles and apparent clearing that was being done on a series of 3 properties owned by the same person. And when we went there, we saw big trucks, crushers, you name it. We went 2 different days, and Conex boxes were added one day. And a path was cut across some wetlands. I'll get to that map in a second. And they just have material and vehicles and whatnot spread all over the place. So basically, the violation is unpermitted clearing and grubbing in the upland review, crossing of the wetlands, unapproved storage of equipment, and filling in the wetlands due to the crossing. There's both a cease and desist from the planning and zoning, and there's a citation that was delivered from the planning and zoning. So this is the property. There's 3 properties, 268, 264, and 260 Garter Road. Wetlands through here, the green. That's where the entrance has been cut in, and it's more substantial, but the 100-year offset, I stopped right at the 100-year offset. This is the area where they just have equipment and have done some clearing and cutting.
100 year or 100?
I'm sorry, 100 foot, oh my gosh. Thank you.
So this is not the quarry.
No,
Okay.
no.
And this is Garden Road, that dirt road.
Yeah, they have a
Yeah.
quarry on Garden Road.
This is on the corner of Fan Hill and Garter Road. Fan Hill is right here, and Garter Road,
Oh, okay.
Isn't there a permit on this property? For a, maybe it's not this one, because they also have a permit on their property for affordable housing.
that's 125.
That's what, okay, okay. Same names.
Yep, no, exactly.
Okay.
That's why when you said
And
it.
it all looks the same when you look at the pictures,
Exactly.
so.
So
okay.
I actually went with the zoning enforcement officer, so we actually measured where the driveway was, so we knew exactly where we were, because 3 properties we had no clue. But you could see there's, this was taken September 18th. And there was the cut-in of the pathway. And some of the equipment, there's a lot more than what shows on the days that we were here for this one. And what I did is went back, see this little pile here? Keep that in your mind. We went back to some older photos. This was taken in 2008. Right now it's dry. In March it was very wet. And when I was on the site, you could see the limit of the wetland. It was, very dark, black, vernal aspect. So this is all the area, and you'll see that pile of dirt that was back even in 2008. I just wanted to give you a little bit more of an overview of a different time of year, and you could see the wetlands. So this is looking down the road. That pile, we have the 2 telephone poles. See the pile right there? This one was 2012, but that just should, to kind of, that pile has been there for a while, but now we're 48 feet away from this phone pole, and we were 110 from the pole that's closer to Fan Rock.
Fan Hill.
Jeez, Fan Hill. Year, rock, This is just the 2015 aerial. I mean, it's undeveloped land, so you can never really see too much. So basically, the cut-in is like right around there.
And they have no permits for this, for
Nope.
everything?
Nope,
They own the land, they own the
they own the
lots,
land, they own all 3 lots.
and they're building lots. Residential building lots? Are they residentially zoned?
I don't know that they're residential zone.
I mean, there is commercial right across the
I
street,
can tell you.
but it's got the Carter Road address, right?
RF2.
Yeah.
Are they closing the other quarry? Is the other quarry closed?
Well, that we think, because we get calls daily on this right now. Because they're
On this right
seeing
here, or the,
on on this property. We're getting
Yeah.
calls daily, because, you know, they've actually seen loads come in.
Oh, jeez.
Some, you know, we believe that most of the equipment was taken off of the 125.
Yeah, I could see that, you could tell, that's type of stuff. I was wondering if they're like trying to, are they making one violation to correct another one, like, are they being kicked out of there, because in my opinion, you don't move all that stuff, you know, quarry equipment unless you're opening up another quarry. You know, the generators is a telltale sign. I don't know.
It sounds like a notice of violation.
Maybe he's got nowhere to put it.
Well,
Although we do have the, can do a cease and desist.
Yeah, right.
They have cease and desist from planning and zoning right now?
A citation and a cease and desist from planning and
Have
zoning.
they?
Yeah, they did both.
No. Have they stopped?
I did not go out there today.
It was issued
This
yesterday?
was issued yesterday, because we have 5 different addresses for them. So trying to figure out which address was the right one.
Yeah. Well,
whichever one looks like it has the most expensive house on it.
Well,
could you back to
we're not sure
the,
that they have too many much of a house left either, so.
could you go back to the map that you put together?
Yep.
Yeah, that one. So that's the extent, and what you're saying is they're in the wetlands?
Yeah, right, they crossed it just a little bit when they
Yeah.
went in.
They put a pipe in at least, or they just
No.
like literally just
No,
built
it's
it
just,
right?
Build it.
you-
Oh, man.
that's
You can
it,
see
right
they
there.
just-
So you can see a little bit, you know, they're
Oh.
right at the fringe of it, but you could see right here, that's the edge of the wetland.
I think it's definitely, at least my opinion, is notice of violation and cease and desist. I mean, they shouldn't be doing anything in there. It's clearly destroying wetlands.
And they have no permit,
Right.
Right.
Nothing.
Okay, we're good with that. All right, now, status updates, IWV dash 2019 dash 07.
Did you get them in the wetland?
Uh,
Okay. 104 Century,
Yep.
let me bring it up for you.
J&T Associates.
They came in front of us, they're the ones that are over by the pond.
They said this real estate agent, right?
Yes, the real
Yeah, that's
estate,
right.
thank you.
That's right.
The real estate agent, the fellow that wrote it, he's the homeowner. We had told them to investigate a little bit more. There's a letter in the file that was written by a landscape architect, I believe, that said that,
All maintenance landscape.
oh, that, said that what was taken out, it's gonna come back, but really. So he told me he was sending it, and if I could present it and figure out what their next step is to be, because they said they had a professional that,
Do we have any idea what the qualifications of this all maintenance landscaping? I mean, it could be a guy that cuts grass. You know, there's no, Jordan Links. Who's the maintenance associated with all maintenance landscaping? I mean, the existing plants could be bittersweet, Japanese barberry and, other such species.
My concern with this is that, you know, in the time that it's growing back, how do we know someone isn't like just pushing the line back a little bit, trimming
Exactly.
it back?
Exactly.
You
The inch a
know.
year club?
What?
Inch a year club is
Yeah.
what they call it. A foot a year.
I get
Seriously,
it like
there's
that.
not even a letterhead, I mean,
Yeah.
what is the attempt, there's not even an attempt here to have any type of legitimacy to this letter. I mean,
okay.
what do we think?
I would like to know what the existing plants are, that he says that are here. They're just cut down, but they're established and healthy. How can you tell?
I think, you know, my opinion is that if you make a mistake and you're going to fix it, you're going to, you know, restore, make an attempt to restore something, which means actually planting a live plant back in the ground, right? Or you have to have professional, you know, professional assessment and report, which we have neither at this point, correct?
That's what we got.
So,
Looking at my notes from our last meeting, we talked about a remediation plan that was gonna be submitted under remediation application,
this is apparently the plan.
but,
Well, they were done.
So, I don't know, what do we do? This is a weird one.
Yeah,
Is
and
this the
unfortunately, it's, you know, when I got the call, everything was gone, so I couldn't even tell you what was taken out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was this property being sold, or was this,
He's the new owner. Who's the new owner? Tasso?
My guess it's an investment property,
I'm thinking it might
otherwise he
be.
would have came here himself.
I don't think he's local right
No?
now, yeah. I don't think he's local, that's why the
Oh, is
realtor
that why he's
came.
here?
That's why the realtor came.
so it's probably, like you said, an investment property,
It's
he's
definitely an
he's from
investment
somewhere
property.
else. Can't we
Or
handle
just
this
because he
as,
was still trying to work on it, I don't know.
can't we handle this like we just handled the previous violation, where
Work with,
we
yeah,
work with staff, but we gave you direction on,
as long as you give direction, yeah.
what should be done?
But I thought that was kind of what we were doing in the last time.
Right, and
And-
it was a remediation.
And then we get a letter saying, oh, everything's fine, just let it grow back from
So
all
you can either
maintenance
accept this, or you
landscaping.
can keep with what you said at the last meeting.
Alright, so I guess we say your letter is rejected. You need to come back to us with, something and maybe guidelines of what's acceptable.
Well, perhaps we
Or-
can have him identify the plants that are there, that he says are there. That way we'll know whether or not they are plants that are desirable or not.
I wouldn't
No?
even get into that, because then I think we should say that it needs to be remediated regardless of what's there.
I see, okay.
Because
But
it
if
was
he
taken,
wants
it
to
was cleared,
hire-
so it doesn't, it was cleared, so.
And Lois, in the direction you're going, if you want to spend the money and have professional horticulturists come out and identify the stumps and tell us what they are, they could spend that money and get us a legitimate report from a
Right, they
professional.
could
And they could
choose
say,
them to
we're gonna
go
monitor
along.
this for the next 3 years and say that this stuff is gonna grow back and look like it did before. So they have to pick one way or the other. They have to admit they screwed up and admit to fix it, you know, restore it, or hire the professional people to say that this is gonna grow back and be in its previous condition.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay, so
let me ask the agent a question. What do you make of this letter? The veracity of the, you know, one of
We
the,
sometimes have, you know, professionals will submit letters. I mean, he just said to me, I'm submitting a letter, could you bring it to the commission?
It's not even signed.
I know, it was emailed to me, so that's probably
He could've
why.
went and got, he
You
could've
use
went
a
and got.
different font as a signature, I know.
No, even that I'm saying, he could've went on Google and found any landscaper anywhere in 3 towns over, took down his stuff and wrote a letter.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, I can't.
to Lois's point, I think maybe we need to have the agent get involved and go out and have a look at this. I'll tell you why, under state law, whether you want to accept it or not, we must accept everything as being factual presented to us, unless we have reason to believe it's not. So the first thing we have to say is, this is factual, but it's not good enough. Let's analyze what plants are there, what they should be doing to remediate it. You know what I mean? In other words, we can't just dismiss this.
Well, not this, well, okay, but can we reject it on the fact that there's no credentials? I mean, it's someone making an assessment.
Well, we could
Of
disagree,
education.
we could
disagree.
disagree, we could
Yeah,
disagree
wait.
that we're
We
not
could
gonna
say
leave
this
it.
is not sufficient, which is what
Well, you
I
could
think
still say
Lois
you
was
want plans.
Lois was going
Yeah.
to have it investigated.
That's probably what I was really trying to say, is, it's not sufficient. And meaning that we can't take this right now and go, okay,
This
sure,
is-
all done.
Yeah,
That's what I mean by this letter. This letter isn't proving us anything, really, and as far as I can tell, we can vote on, I don't think anybody here wants to accept it.
Not as expert testimony, heavens no.
All right, so do you make a motion about the letter?
It's not,
There's no
Say
really
it's-
motion.
it's-
on
it's-
this thing.
Anything, I think
Okay.
that,
I think we can instruct staff to, further investigate.
I think it's,
don't know.
let's just say the notice of, we have a notice of violation on this, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so it still stands, nothing has been changed.
right.
They haven't given us, what we're looking for.
how long has it been since you've been there?
June.
June, so.
I went in May, when it happened, it was Memorial Weekend.
So
and
I
then-
would agree, it might be good if you went back there and you look, and you might say, oh, wow, it's really grown back. I mean, that's a long time.
I mean, you do have the
Right?
pictures to.
And if
to-
we take another month or two, you might as well wait until spring, and then guess what? It's gonna be grown back by then, so.
I know, there's no date here, I know.
Put date on the letter.
There's a date on the email that it came in, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
So-
email's not with it.
Different minutes.
I would recommend that we ask him
No.
to bring his professional to the next meeting, and then we look at it in the meantime.
Okay, so I'll tell him he needs to come to another meeting and bring,
Bring
be
his
prepared to answer some
professional.
additional
Bring
questions
his
and.
professional for questioning.
Exactly.
I could have typed that out. But
All right, so, is that, we're done with that then? So general discussion, the minutes of September 11th, 2019.
Lois had some changes that before you voted on it, they were bigger, so I'm going to add her
Table.
comments, and then you guys can all review it. So table till the next
Table to the
meeting.
next meeting, the minutes are tabled to the next meeting.
Yes.
Regulation Amendment Committee?
Did you pass out?
I did, yes.
You did.
Yep, they've all been passed out. Did
Okay.
anybody look at them? Anybody have any? You're honest, Jim, I love that.
Remember last
No.
week, we,
Okay.
or the last meeting, we handed out, or
Said
Lois passed out.
about, to the regulation.
Well, we know what we can do in stages.
Yeah,
But
it
it's
doesn't all
it's
have
not
to be
worthy of
done
like
in-
spending time tonight trying to look through it. It's when you have a chance, review,
Okay.
and then we could talk about it.
I'm gonna need a fresh copy.
Public out,
What, did you dump it when you walked out the door last week?
all right, Public Outreach Committee? Nothing.
Nothing.
Correspondences, nothing. So we're,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
yes,
prior to adjourn, do you have a committee that's reviewing the bylaws? Is that part of the regulation amendment or not?
No.
If not, I think we need to have someone review it. The bylaws are horrendously out of date and horrendously wrong. There are bylaws written for an elected committee, which obviously we're not elected, and there's tremendous errors in there that could get us into trouble one day when someone wants to make a point. So I think it should be reviewed.
we'll, figure that one out. See the bylaws. All right. Anything else? Anybody have anything to say? Are we done?
You don't want to appoint a committee.
Are you
I think
volunteering?
Well, I mean, if nobody else wants to, of course I'll volunteer, but the point is, you should appoint a committee unless you disagree. If you disagree,
No, I just, I don't know, does anybody want to form
Well,
a
let's
committee
do one
to?
thing at a time here. Let's get the regulations ironed out, and then we can move on to the bylaws. Because we have enough trouble just getting the regulations moving to the point that we have. So,
Okay.
That's true.
it's been a long haul. And if we could do that first, then we'll get to the bylaws, and I think that would,
Okay, so we'll
that
have,
would be my suggestion.
maybe we'll have, a period of time in the next, we'll catch up on the regulations. We'll look at where we are, where we stand with that, and then see a timeline where the bylaws will fall into that afterwards.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
Okay. The meeting Adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn the
Make
meeting.
a motion to
Does
adjourn.
that ask you any
What?
objection by unanimous consent you adjourn?
What?
Debbie?
Is there any other further
Oh, yes.
business?
I said I make a
Oh, you
motion.
made,
to-
oh, does anybody second?
I will.
Okay, motion by Clark to adjourn the meeting and seconded by Lois. All in
And
favor?
I'm taking it.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? This meeting is closed at 9:12 PM.